You all right?
I can hear you great. I've just put the recording on, yeah?
Okay.
So, yeah, so this is Dan. Look, never met you. Nice to meet you.
Oh, yeah. You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Yeah. Yeah. All well.
Great. So, this is for a testimonial. You were the first to use my process. So, yeah, welcome, Dan. Nice to see your face. By
Yeah.
the way,
Yeah.
tell
Yeah. I've
everyone
seen
your
yours. I've seen
experience.
yours
There's
before.
people waiting for it.
Sorry.
There's people waiting for your experience.
Okay.
They want
Okay.
this Zoom.
Okay. Do you want me to just go through it then?
Go through how you got in touch with me, what happened, just like
Okay.
you spoke to Petros and you said the same thing to him.
Yeah. Okay. So it was a road traffic um claim that was against me. Um, they held a summary judgment, which is for those who don't know, is when they basically hold a hearing without inviting you to it. Which is what they do most of the time, well, pretty much every time. And then they find you guilty and then they issue a collection notice. So I appealed to that because obviously that's, completely unlawful. And so they granted me another hearing to decide whether they were going to reopen the case or not. I went to that. My first time in court. It was a horrible experience. It was only about 15 minutes long, but the magistrates did agree to reopen the case. So started from square one. So then I knew that the fight was really on. So I had some help from some men called Stephen, he goes by the name Tricky Bricky, and a guy called Stan McDonald, and they helped me to put together some good paperwork, a really good affidavit, also a preparation for effective trial form. So I put those together. I sent a copy to King's Bench, Court of Record, with a self-stamped addressed envelope for them to return it to me. Never heard anything back from them. But I also sent the affidavit and the preparation for trial form to the prosecutor and to the court. Now, both of them ignored it. And this is the experience that I think a lot of people are having, is that they just ignore your paperwork.
I had
And
loads.
then, yeah, and then I saw Panny's video, your live stream on Facebook, which came out what, about 2 months ago, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah,
She's the
and
only one that would put me on her channel. I
yeah,
got in touch with loads of these so-called truthers. They're not interested.
yeah. And I thought, well, this guy's obviously got some experience. He knows what he's doing. He's had some success. And then I saw you actually popped up in a Telegram group that I was already in. So I sent Panny a message asking if he would be able to help me, because I'd done all this work, an absolutely bulletproof affidavit, sent it to King's Bench, preparation for effective trial form, cover letters, the whole shebang, and they were just ignoring all of it. It was I'd been sending all of it recorded delivery, and they just ignore it. They don't
They
respond
ignore all
to
of
any
that.
of it. Yeah. And so when I got in touch with Panny said, well, what you need to do is actually physically go into the court with your paperwork, um, or rather with some paperwork which he helped me with, along with my affidavit, and get them to file it and stamp it there and then. So that's what I did.
And then what happened though? Tell them what happened when
Yeah.
you went down
So
there. I did say to go with
yeah,
witnesses, didn't I?
yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. But because of where I live and just my general circumstance, I wasn't able to bring any witnesses with me. But I went to the court where the hearing was to be held, the magistrates where the hearing was to be held, which was Wrexham magistrates.
On the
And
11th, wasn't it? And I think you went on the 4th, the week earlier.
that's exactly it. Yeah, exactly a week earlier, a week before my hearing. And they let the security guards, they questioned why I was there. And I said, I'm here to file paperwork. And they nearly didn't let me in because they don't generally like to let people in unless they've got a hearing on that day. So they let
Crazy,
me
isn't it?
in. Yeah, yeah. I mean that was
They're our
that was
courts. They're for the public. It's crazy
yeah,
what they're doing. But you
yeah.
know
I
now.
mean,
Go on, sorry.
yeah, and you'd warned me that it was going to be a fight, so I was prepared for it. But that was the first kind of small hurdle that I had to overcome. I went up to the usher's office, and I said, just very politely, I said, hi, I have a hearing a week from now. I've got some defense paperwork here that I'd like to file, please. And he just straight away said no. And I could see it. I could see in his eyes that he knew exactly what I was trying to do. And he was just very, very belligerent. Immediately, no, not doing that. I said, you're trespassing on my right to due process here, to justice. And he said, no, I'm
Called
not. No, I'm not. And
trespassing
he just,
upon my case. That's what it's called. Remember
yeah,
that. Trespassing
yeah.
upon my
I
case.
think, I
It's
think,
for
I think
everyone
that's the,
else.
yeah, I think that is the wording I used. But I said to him, okay, so, and he wouldn't budge an inch. So I said to him, well, what's your name? And he said, I think his name was Ian or something like that, but he wouldn't give me his surname. And what he kept saying was that the courtrooms themselves are separate to the rest of the building. He kept saying that he wasn't part of the courts. Like there's this kind of separation that he kept trying to say that there was. So he wouldn't do it, and I said, "Well, I'm not leaving until I do, because you'd said to me, Panny, that you're going to have to really dig your heels in, and you might be there for a couple of hours,
Yeah.
fighting to get this
I've
done."
done it many
Yeah,
times.
yeah. And so I said, right, well, I'm not leaving till this is done. And he said, well, he said, you will be leaving when the when the court closes at the end of the day. And I said, well, I'll be here till then. So I went and sat down, and I went and bothered him every sort of 10 minutes, for about an hour, maybe a little bit less. And I said to him, he actually did start to soften up a little bit, and he came out to me at one point, and he said, look, I've had a word with a magistrate, and no, sorry, he said, I've had a word with the like, what do you call, the in-house solicitor, like the kind of, they have like a
The
court
legal
solicitor,
advisor,
legal advisor, yeah. And he said, he
normally
may
a
be able to.
manager.
Okay, yeah. And he said he may be able to speak to you, but he's busy with someone else at the moment. So I said, okay, well, I'll wait. If you could just let me know when he's available, and whatever. Um, Nothing came of that. And then he said, well, I said, look, I just need 2 minutes of a magistrate's time. I know that they must have a couple of minutes between cases. I know they're very busy, etc. And basically nothing came of it. He wouldn't help me, even though he did kind of soften up a little bit and become a bit more human at some point. But the problem I then had was that my parking, I had to fix my parking because my parking ticket was up. So I went to security, and I just said very politely to them, I said, look, I've got to go and fix my parking. I'll be back in a minute. They said, okay, no problem. Went and did that. And then when I came back, they barred me entry to the court, and they said that
Ludicrous, isn't it?
yeah, they'd been given instruction in the 3 minutes while I was away by some woman who I'd never met, who had obviously been keeping an eye on me sitting in the waiting room. Um, she had instructed the security not to let me back into the building, and they wouldn't give me a reason. They did give me her name, which I've got noted down somewhere, but they wouldn't give me they wouldn't let me back into the building. And I could see, I said to two of them, I could see in their eyes that they knew how wrong what they were doing was. They were, that big, really big guy was almost welling up because I was staring him right in the eyes, and saying, you realize how wrong this is, what you're doing here. You're obstructing.
I think they're learning now, the security. They actually understand what's going on, but they're helpless because they're outside firms
Yeah,
coming in. But can I just add there, this is why two witnesses,
yeah,
because if there's two witnesses stating a fact with you, the only way to beat that is with a trial by jury. That's what I've learned.
yeah.
So
Well,
that's
yeah,
why you would have got them all for trespass.
yeah. It would have made my life easier,
It
I'm
doesn't
sure.
matter. You
But
got there in the
yeah,
end.
but yeah. So what I did then is, fortunately, at Wrexham Magistrates Court, there's a police station right over the road. So I went straight over there because I wasn't going to give up. I went straight over there and lodged a complaint. And I mean, the police, they didn't understand what was wrong about what was going on there. They didn't see anything wrong with me not being let into the building. And I
Yeah,
said, well, I said, I said that, well, you do realize it's a public building. It's owned by the public. It's they're our courts.
right.
They're obstructing my access to justice, and they just, they just don't understand the police. They don't understand that stuff. And they kept saying things like, well, why don't you just post them your paperwork? Why don't you email it to them? And I said, well, aside from the fact that it's not up to you to decide how I handle my legal matters. The fact is that I have tried those things and they ignore them.
They're all
So
being
I'm doing
ignored.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing it the old-fashioned way. So in the end, I did get a complaint number off them. I went back over to the court. And by the way, when I was arguing with the security about them not letting me back in, they actually admitted that it was a place of business, not a place of law. And I've actually got that on recording because I've recorded the whole thing in
Good.
audio. And I've when I get a chance, I'm going to edit the audio together because there's long gaps of nothing happening. So yeah, I actually got security admitting that it's a place of business, not a place of law. But I went back to them and I just to tell them, I said, look, I've just lodged a complaint with the police here. I'm going to be pursuing this afterwards. I just wanted to let you know. By that point, the security had softened up just a little bit. And they along with a woman who I'm not quite sure who she was, but they kind of came to the door and they kind of let slip that if I took my paperwork to a different court,
I did
then
say that as well.
they should be able to administrate it. Yeah. So so this is, and I think this is something that both Pani and I have like learned out of this case, perhaps, or certainly it's been reaffirmed from my case, is that the court where you receive your paperwork from is often different to the court where your hearing is held. And
Sometimes, yeah.
yeah, well, a couple of people I've spoken to, that's been the case with them. And in the court that had sent me my summons, my invitation to Wrexham Magistrates was Mould Law Courts, which is a combined magistrates and county court.
Right.
So I got in the car, I got on the phone to them. I said, "Do you administrate paperwork?" They said, "Yes, we do." I said, "Great, I'll be there in half an hour." Drove straight over there, and I had absolutely no problems there. I went straight
See,
in, and they were quite happy to take the paperwork, to file it, scan it,
that will soon
stamp.
change, though. The more people do this, it will soon change. So we
Yeah,
got to keep fighting. We've got to keep battling. Put them
yeah,
in
and
their
it's
place. They're our public servants. We need them to serve us.
yeah, and it's probably different depending on which which area you're in as well, as to whether the combined court will do that or not.
Not just
But
that, it's the man or woman behind the counter as well.
yeah, yeah.
You get good
So
ones, you get bad ones.
yeah, so they lady went away, kept me waiting for about 15 minutes, came back with my paperwork, tried to give me the copies, but as Panny had said, no, make sure you take the originals. So I said, well, no, is it okay? Can I take the originals, please? And you keep the copies. They said, yeah,
And
no
can I
problem.
just add there for everyone that's watching, the original is your court. Once you give
Yeah,
that away, you've given your court to them, and then they control your court. And this is
yeah,
where we're going wrong. So sorry, carry
right.
on.
Yeah. Yeah, no worries. And so I went away feeling, somewhat victorious because all in all, this had taken me about 2.5 hours. And it had been a very intense experience, obviously, but I expected that because Panny warned me. But I went home feeling like, well, okay, I got the paperwork stamped in the end, and so this was on the Wednesday that this happened, and
Fourth,
then
that was, yeah.
on
And on the 6th,
Saturday,
it was, you sent me the message.
yeah, two
What I
days later,
predicted, didn't I?
yeah, you did. Panny said to me, yeah, Panny said, you were like 95% certain that if I got my paper, if I succeeded in getting the paperwork stamped, then the case would get discontinued. And you were absolutely bang on. It did. 2 days later, I got a letter in the post from the CPS saying discontinuance of case.
And why?
Not enough evidence.
That's
Let me
right.
see if I can
And then
find that.
also, because I've got them, it's an identical copy. And it
Um,
says discontinuance, the reason, not enough evidence.
yeah, yeah,
And it says you've got 35 days if you want to revive this case. Yeah.
yeah.
And
That's
then it
it.
says you can claim expenses to this. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It said
That's
at
it.
the end of the letter, I can claim expenses, which I did initiate, but I've not had any luck so far. But I'm going to be chasing that. But yeah, it was, it was miraculous, and well, not miraculous. I mean, it was through the advice of Panny and through the effort that I went through on
And
that
how simple
Wednesday.
is the document?
The document is very simple. Yeah, the documents
And
that,
from your procedure, I've made it even shorter now.
yeah,
Yeah. A lot
yeah,
shorter. You don't need no affidavit. You don't need no fee schedule. You just
no,
need the motion to dismiss, your reasons failing to supply a victim, and a sworn victim statement.
yeah,
And what shuts it down, what I've learned, if you put a counterclaim in. So
Right.
the way to fight them is don't defend, you counteract.
Mm.
If you don't counteract, they'll push you until you lose. They'll keep bringing you into court to try and trick you. So what you've done proved to us, because my first one had a counterclaim, I got discontinuance. When I used that similar process, I didn't put a counterclaim, I just put damages. They tried to trick me in the court.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple of others in the process. We're going to have more testimonials, some great stuff. I don't know if you know about turning up at court and then they don't like what they hear and they kick you out and put a warrant out for your arrest and say you didn't turn up. I don't know if you know about that happens.
You told me about that, yeah.
Well, a lady on Friday, I coached her through it and they tried tricking her. They held her in there. They literally locked the doors till 6:30 and they couldn't. They even told her to leave. And I said to her, right, tell them to put it in writing and you'll leave. They wouldn't. So she stayed. And instead of putting a warrant for arrest and kicking her out, they've rescheduled the case.
Right.
And only because she done her motion the day before, she got in touch with me so late. But brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
She's a testimonial. We're waiting for her discontinuance to come.
Oh, brilliant. Great. Yeah, but the paperwork was, the motion to dismiss, the fee schedule and the affidavit. But
But you don't even need those. You just
no,
need
no,
that first document. It's
yeah,
finished.
I think you're right. It's because that motion to dismiss is essentially kind of like a summary of the affidavit anyway. You're basically, the main points is, as you say, it's the lack of claimant, the lack of injured party, the lack of witness, the lack of sworn testimony. Those are the things that get them. They know, and I think it boils down to lack of injured party.
Also, did you see any act, statute, or legislation on your paperwork?
What on the
motion on the motion to dismiss?
No.
Right, because if you do, you jump into their realm. That's something else I've learned.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, I went and tried to file my first private prosecution, and they said yes, you can do it. Sent me this document, and because I made my own, their one says application for warrant for arrest or summons for the defendant, and I made it identical, and I changed it to order for summons, warrant for arrest for wrongdoer.
Yeah.
And they just panicked when I was in there on Tuesday. We was there for hours.
Really?
And they still didn't file it, but they sent an email, said, look, this is that. I said, doesn't matter. You're now trespassing upon my case. But anyway, this is this one, because I'm going to put that out for you to claim off the CPS.
Okay.
Yeah, private prosecution for bringing a frivolous claim without a victim. That's a crime. Took you into a criminal court without a victim.
Yeah.
So so you got your motion to dismiss. You're just waiting for your expenses now, yeah?
Yeah. I do need to pursue that because I mean they're basically they're just ignoring that again. So it might be another one of these cases of
is to create a bill and then start charging them per letter and per day on that bill.
Yeah.
And again, and my advice is when you send it, go to your post office. Don't close the envelope. Leave it open. This is a new thing we want to try now. And ask the post office to put the stamp that they put on the envelope. Can you put that on the document as well? Because then they have to accept it because they can't mess with the Royal Mail. This is what I'm believing, what my research is, because I need more people to try things.
Yeah.
Because I've got no more cases going on. So I'm done trying. So now you've helped us. You've actually shown something. This lovely lady, Denise, that was panicking. And she says, I'm slow. And she left there like a queen.
Yeah.
And that's how we've got to be. And what queen or king fills out someone else's document?
That's it. If the paperwork they give you, if you give them paperwork that doesn't fit into one of their predefined boxes, then they panic. They don't know what to do with it.
That's right, because now you're holding court. And if you see that stamp that you got to the stamp that they put on their document, it's always a tribunal stamp. You actually got a court stamp. And what I've learned is on the Ministry of Justice, it shows all the courts, the King's Bench, Chancery, Magistrate Court, County Court, and then it says tribunals. And when you look at the documents, it says HM Courts and Tribunal Services. So what it is, tribunal services are taking our court time up. And it's
Yeah.
a totally different stamp. It's a circle with a crest on it, a crown. It looks like a Mickey Mouse stamp. But when you go and get it stamped by the court, it's a professional, it's a court stamp. These are
Right.
things that we're learning. So it's beautiful stuff that we're doing. And I'm glad because you was the first to use it, Dan. I've actually
Yeah.
got friends that are in and out of court. One guy's got warrants for his arrest. He's on the run. It's all traffic offences. And another guy, he didn't use it and he's going to come on as well. And he got £780 fine and 6 points.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
Well,
was
I
only
mean,
doing a mile an hour over the limit.
yeah, I mean, they were trying to find me. It
Crazy.
was over a grand and 6 points.
Yeah.
So and I'm convinced that if I hadn't gone in there and got it stamped, that they would have
Oh,
that they wouldn't have discontinued the case. They would
and
have
I
continued with the
can rubber
hearing.
stamp that as well because I've
Yeah.
had many cases and the only ones that I got stamped got shut down. The others they just ignored.
Yeah.
Oh, time's running out. It says. Right, we're
Oh,
going to have to leave it there, Dan.
yeah.
But
No worries.
beautiful. God bless you. And thank you for showing your face and being part of this.
No,
And
pleasure.
we need
No,
to
thank
share it
you,
with
Panny.
others. That's the new world, is share it with others and we get
Yeah.
justice. It's following the rule of law. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, thank you, Panny. No, I can't thank you enough.
Like, some people, they just think this guy's giving it for free. There's something wrong here. They don't realize there's real people out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I
It's what
mean?
I've been saying to people as well. It's, your approach is good. People shouldn't be charging others for your work, but nor if you have to spend lots of time explaining how all of this stuff works. Everyone's time is precious, but at the end of the day, if I've got paperwork or you've got paperwork which is already done, and you know someone who's going to understand how to use that, there's no harm in sharing it. And the only way we're going to get ourselves out of this mess collectively is if we share that information freely.
And that's what I say to everyone. I've had people where I've given them hours on the phone, and they send me their paperwork, and I see it's not correct. And I said, I'm sorry, you have to pay for a video chat because I don't want customers. I
No.
want people to stand on it themselves and be able to stand in that court and know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm not here just to sell stuff. I'm here for people to get the knowledge because I can't stand in court for you. And they will trick. We've proven when Denise comes on, you'll see. It's crazy what they held
Yeah.
at it.
I look
But
forward to watching that,
that
mate.
we can stop people getting arrested now, getting warrants. I've had it 3 times. They come and took me, put me
Yeah.
in a cell overnight, took me in a box round the courts, the police stations, collected others, put me in the court, in the cells downstairs, bring me up like I'm a murderer.
Mm.
And I didn't want that for any woman, let alone a man. People will just crack and not carry on with this process.
No.
So she's done it the first time, and she's going to get on. When she gets her discontinuance, going to do another chat like this, and let's just share. Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Dan,
Great.
bless you.
Yeah.
Take
You
care.
too. Nice one.
Speak
Cheers,
again,
Panny.
definitely. We have to meet up as well.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Great.
You take
See you
care
soon,
now.
mate.
Thank you. Bless you again. Bye-bye.